EWB through a volunteer placement. So I was involved in a water supply project in Indonesia for about 18 months and then was lucky enough to start as staff. So I've been working here for just a bit over 3.5 years now, and mainly with the international programs. I dip my toe in a few other areas as well. So just to tell you a little bit about the international program, for those of you who don't know, typically the way we engage most intensively overseas is through technical support for community partners. And the community partners can be a range of organisations. They might be a local NGO, a local office of an international NGO, a university, a technical institute, or a social enterprise. But essentially they're organisations that are working primarily for marginalised communities or a particular sector of the country that's really key to poverty alleviation. So there's a lot of work that goes into finding those appropriate partners and scoping and screening and having those really important discussions, which as a coordinator I'm involved in, but a lot of that execution is done by our field officer, which is a key volunteer role that rotates every 18 months or so. So once we have those partnerships sorted, then we look at particular projects to work together on, and they're really cross-sectoral and will vary country to country. But water, sanitation, hygiene is a big one. Also, quite a few energy projects. We've been working on in Cambodia and Nepal. Done a little bit in the disability sector. Touched on construction in a few countries as well, but it does vary a little bit country to country, and yeah, take a look at the website if you want to learn a bit more about that. Just I guess, just reading my notes here, just a few things to think about relevant for chapters in upcoming work. I think in terms of, because we've worked overseas, I think there's been some challenges, I guess, in getting some good integration between what we do internationally and our Heart and Soul, which is our members back in Australia, but we're really looking at ways that we can make sure there's better cross-fertilisation, because ultimately that's good for chapters and we deliver a much better program. We've been really lucky to have a few awesome chapter people go away and volunteer with us over the last, in the history of the program. That's something we'd really like to continue. So just in short, I guess the ideas where we see real opportunity for engagement with chapters. One, something exciting that's happening in South Asia is networking with new emerging EWBs, one in Sri Lanka and one in India. We'd really like to look at addressing different ways that we can work together, and one way is potential knowledge sharing between chapters in, say, Sri Lanka and chapters in Australia, and getting some idea sharing cross-country, which would be really cool. And certainly you guys having the experience of being working in chapters for a number of years will have a lot to offer the new and emerging EWBs. We're also getting a lot of other requests from other countries we don't work in, and it'd be great to have coherent ways that we could support them and start building some solid networks and relationships. And it's quite a beautiful thing, I think, having international EWBs really support each other as we grow, and being able to share what we, the great things we've done and some of the things we might have done a little bit differently too. The other aspect which I've got a personal interest in is knowledge sharing. So I really believe as a program we're always looking at learning and improving, and our volunteers have such an amazing experience when they go away and learn a lot quite intensely in that 12 months, and I really want to bring that knowledge back into the membership base, back into EWB as an organisation, including staff, and look at improving ourselves and improving our program. And not too sure what that's going to look like yet, but I think it's going to be, for example, what EWB in New South Wales did with their WASH short course is a really good demonstration of how we can improve our own learning, but also potentially share with the sector more widely. The other one is the Buddies, which has been trialled by our former field officer, Jai Allison, in our last overseas intake. Had some, we're probably still in the pilot stage. Some things work really well, other ones, either the buddy or the volunteer tended to drift apart, whereas other volunteers, it was a really useful program for them. So probably still trialing out. I think we learned a few things from the first run and really looking at getting sort of greater chapter engagement in that as that goes forward. So stay tuned for that one. And the other one, I guess, is more generally just helping support the intake. Ultimately for us, the better people, the more applicants we have and the better quality applicants we have for our program, then the better outcomes for the communities that we work with. And I guess the strength of EWB is our, to a degree, our members and our chapters in our network. So really looking to ongoing support from the chapters to support us with finding those awesome people who hopefully come back to chapters to share what they've learned. Just having a look at our program logic. I presume I can pause, Marco, because this is going to get edited. Okay, good.
Actually, mate, cut it there and run another one.
Okay.